Welcome to Creative Courage Chats, a search for a new understanding of creativity and problem solving. I'm Alex Raffi. Hi, everybody. We're back to another Creative Courage Chats. I'm here with April Mastroluca. She's a friend of mine again. I have so many friends that are coming in. I'm excited to be able to talk to them about all the things that they do. And April, she's had her hand in a lot of different things. And she's been able to actually make a career of talking to people and motivating people to kind of make things happen. Right now, she's a nonprofit professional. But April, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you've done?
How long did you want to make this conversation? I mean,
Well,
I've
I
done
do
a
remember
lot.
the first time I met you, I think was at the Henderson Library, an event, and the mayor was there. And I think we started chatting. I think it was at a library. That's where my earliest memory.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then we started chatting and everything, and I got the mayor to put on a button for the librry district, which was funny.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Hey, mayor, put this on." And he said, "Rescue my library button." He said, "Okay." And he put it on, and we had a picture. It was kind of funny, but yeah. So right now, you're running the Nevada chapter of ALS, right?
Yes.
Obviously. So, well, I know that, but so so maybe talk about that. Maybe talk about what you're doing with that and what ALS is. Maybe give people maybe a brief understanding of what that is.
Okay. So I've been with the ALS Association Nevada chapter for a little over 6 years, and ALS is better known, depending on your age group. To people in our age group, it's Lou Gehrig's disease.
Mm-hmm.
To people in, my daughter who's in her 20s age group, it's that thing for the ice bucket challenge. It's kind of how people describe it.
Right, the ice bucket challenge, right?
But it's a neuromuscular disease that basically the muscles in your body shut down one by one, and there's no cure for the disease. It will end in death for the person that has it, and the average time that someone has the disease is 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we've had people with our organization that have been with us for more than 10 years. We've lost people in a matter of months after a diagnosis. So it's a very rewarding and heart-wrenching job at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because we provide services and we have a lot of interaction with our clients. So it could be that we, meet them at our support group or at our multidisciplinary ALS clinic. We have a loan closet and a respite program so that caregivers can take a break. We pay for respite care. We pay for transportation if they want to go on a vacation or, go make some memories. We'll pay for a van rental for that.
Sure.
So we do a lot of different things for folks, but really the number one thing that most people with ALS will tell you that they found valuable is the fact that we're just here, that our care service staff is available to answer questions. I mean, you think about, if you've ever been hospitalized for any reason, there's a lot of questions. Why? What's going on? What's happening? And it's not like you can call up, your friend and say, hey, I know you had that really bad cold. Tell me what happened and how you got through it. You can't do that with ALS because it's a rare disease. So it's very rare that two people with ALS know each other outside of the ALS Association. So our staff has been there for people for years going through this disease, and they can help people navigate and say, okay, if you've done this, then this is probably, as we see you progress, this is probably what the next thing is going to be. Let's prepare for that.
Right.
We're seeing you're having trouble walking, so let's start getting you fitted for a wheelchair because it's going to take time to get it, and we want to get that started. So it's just kind of guiding people and helping them know what's coming so that they can plan.
Right. And yeah, I'm familiar with it through you, but also because my good friend Laird Noble Sanders somewhat recently passed away from it. But what I learned from watching him struggle with it was it's really random, right? What it approaches, like the muscles it attacks are kind of you never know which one it's going to be, right? Where it could be your with him, it was his voice started leaving first. Other people, they physically can't walk, and there's a lot of different ways it approaches, and it takes a while. Does it take a while to like diagnose? We don't know right away. Sometimes, it could be,
Right.
people think like arthritis or something like that, and it just slowly builds up, right?
Well, there's no test for it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a process of elimination. So sometimes people will have trouble with their hands or weakness, and they think, oh, I have carpal tunnel, or their foot will like not move when they're walking, and they're like, oh, I have foot drop, or I have a problem with my Achilles tendon.
Sure.
Or if they're losing their voice first, which is what we call bulbar onset, then it's like, oh, I'm just hoarse all the time, or I just need to drink more water, and then it progresses and progresses. It's interesting is that Laird was the first, actually the only person that I know personally, that I knew before he was diagnosed with ALS and was diagnosed. He was also one of the people that did the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Sure did, yeah.
And then was diagnosed with ALS.
Yeah, there's a video. I shot a video of him saying, you're doing this for people you don't know, and also you never know who's going to need it. You might actually need this. So when he was raising money, it was kind of interesting that he said that. But yeah, it's a really horrible disease. The people I've met through your organization, though, even people with it seem pretty resilient and amazing. A lot of them are even more lively than people that don't have it sometimes. There's some really incredible heroic people out there who are trying to do it, and it's organizations like yours. What's the out of curiosity, I've never asked you, how much government funding does this get? Because I know that with my child
nationally cancer, or
yeah.
So there's government funding for research for the ALS Association, or for ALS in general. So there's appropriations actually through the Department of Defense is a large research program, because if you've served in the U.S. military, you're 50% more likely to be diagnosed with ALS than someone who's never served. So there's money that way. And then there's also, in the U.S., we have the only ALS registry. So where people who've been diagnosed can go on, answer a series of questions, and then scientists use that for background as they're developing cures or treatments. So that is also paid for by the Centers for Disease Control. So that's funding. That money doesn't come to the ALS Association, but it's designated for ALS research, as well as the money from the DoD doesn't come to the organization. It's just dedicated for research.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant, because the organization's there to supplement the money on top of that, what's needed, right?
Right.
I mean, you're there to raise money, the money that's actually needed on top of what's already being spent. But that's hard. It's hard to do that, isn't it? Even though it's clearly, if somebody in their family has it, it's the highest priority there is. But if people don't know about it and don't have people that have it, it's kind of off their radar. And the Ice Bucket Challenge was very interesting because it really kind of blew up, and it shared, and it opened people's eyes to the disease. And I don't even know. I'm willing to bet that there's a small percentage of the people that actually did that didn't even do the research. They did it because it's cool to drop an ice bucket over your head and put your money towards the charity.
I think it's a large percentage of people that did it.
Oh, really?
I would say the majority of people that did it because it was on social media and it looked really cool and celebrities were doing it. And I remember when it first started happening, and one of my board members called me and said, "Hey, did you see this thing that's going on?" And I'm like, "That's stupid. Who's going to dump a bucket of ice water over their head?" Like, no, I saw it. I don't want, it's stupid. And I will say that I had just started at the ALS Association about a month before.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, like, everybody's doing it. And so I was reaching out to television stations saying, hey, if you want some story, some background, because my background was in television. So I was like, if you want some information, if you need some background information, we can help you with that. And so we had, 2 or 3 television stations come, agree to that and say, yeah, definitely, we want to do that. What was interesting is one of them didn't. They're like, we're not going to do that with our, our anchors or reporters. We're not going to put them on air and dump a bucket of ice water over their head. And then like the next day, one of the major anchors on the morning show nationally, because I'm not going to name which station it was, did it. And it was just like, but you didn't want to do it. But you see this well-known anchor on TV doing it, but you didn't want to do it. But it was interesting because we weren't part of the actual ALS Association when that happened. We were still an independent nonprofit called ALS of Nevada, and we were in the process of joining the National ALS Association. So we didn't necessarily benefit as much as some other chapters did, because the money that went into the national office flowed through to the states. But because we weren't a chapter, money that came from Nevada didn't flow through to us, but people donated directly to us to a very, very large extent. And then it also just continued on after the Ice Bucket Challenge kind of went away, and increased our event attendance. So our walk that year doubled in funds raised as well as participation. And our walk was in, I believe, September. So it was right after the Ice Bucket Challenge. So it just kind of helped us along ever since.
And that's a walk that happens often, and I've been part of that, and it's really kind of it's a really nice event, and there's a lot of people there, and there's music, and it's a very cool event to go to and to participate in. So in doing working with the nonprofit and with doing all this stuff, what are some of the largest hurdles? Is it basically just the informing people and trying to get them to understand? Is it the trying to get people to come back? Is it the competition maybe with other charities? Because everybody's got a thing, right? Everybody's got their own. I mean, mine is childhood cancer. I do that one, but everybody's got it. Well, you hope. Not everybody has one. So you hope that people have something that they're trying to do and trying to help with. I think that's the maybe the key is that there should be more people that pick a thing that they want to champion, right? I mean, I don't know. It seems to me. I don't know.
Well, I think that one of the things that people really benefit from in their life is volunteering, and people who have volunteered will tell you that. What I love about volunteering is it gives you a chance to try something outside of your comfort zone or what you're used to. So there are a lot of people that maybe they've always wanted to learn how to do X, or like most nonprofits will say, oh, well, we need someone with a banking background because we need a treasurer on our board. So, it's really important to have someone with a banking background. But sometimes you'll find someone that maybe has just a sales background, but they want to learn more about banking, or they want to learn more about finance. And being a treasurer is that great opportunity, because you really do get into profit and loss statements and, budgeting and all of those things. So there's a lot of opportunities for people to learn new skills just by volunteering. And sometimes you'll find new avenues. I mean, for me, I was working in, I had a variety of jobs, but I was working in casino accounting for one of the hotels on the Strip, and they had a large volunteer program. And I joined that volunteer program and started designing Christmas trees for the Down syndrome organization. They used to do an event every year during the week of Thanksgiving where they would auction off decorated Christmas trees filled with gifts. And I started doing that. And that kind of led me down the path of volunteering, which then led to nonprofit. So I did casino accounting, I did other types of accounting, and then I ended up in television news in a newsroom, and I did that for 3 years and I loved it, but I kept bringing nonprofit pieces in. I kept volunteering us for things and starting coat drives and running the Angel Tree program so that we could, keep that volunteerism going. And then when the organization started to change and they were focusing on in a different direction that I wasn't comfortable with, that's when I made the jump to nonprofit. Yeah. And started out as a program director, and then, was a development director, and then basically traveled around the country teaching groups how to run their nonprofits, and then decided I should come home and run a nonprofit to see if I knew what I was actually talking about. Since I had been teaching people for 8 years, I thought maybe I should put those things into practice.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's important maybe for people to think about. I mean, anybody that's, because a lot of people are thinking, I just haven't found the right thing, or there's people that are thinking there's so many problems in the world and I wish I could do something. I mean, aside from vote, or
Mm-hmm.
something more that I could do, and because there's so many and it's hard to pinpoint. But it's like, just try one, just donate some time and pick one thing, and it's I think that there's a lot of different ways that people can donate time, or even calling organizations. Because I know that one of the things you told me is, one time when we were talking about it as running a nonprofit, is, be careful that, when you're offering your time, the nonprofit's going to say yes. They're always
Yes.
going to say, there's always something you can do. So, be ready that if you're really serious about giving back and trying to donate some time, there is plenty of organizations that are just waiting and chomping at the bit for you to ask. So just be prepared that, when you come in, there's going to be things to do.
Well,
And
there's a caveat to that, though.
what?
And that is, if you can't do something, you need to say no.
Oh, yes.
Because people forget, they think, well, it's volunteer and it's not my job. I'm not getting paid for it. So it's okay if I don't show up, or it's okay if I don't finish this project. It's no big deal. It's not my job. And
Right.
um,
And it's not
what
fair.
what people don't realize is that, and a lot of nonprofits don't like to do this because it puts them in a bad spot, but you actually can fire volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not pleasant and it's not fun.
No.
But you also don't want someone that's going to overpromise and underdeliver, especially if you don't know that. I would rather have somebody tell me a month in advance, or 2 months in advance, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this. I thought I was, but I can't, versus the night before.
Right. And I think that's an important thing to mention there, because you're right. Because I've been in that situation, and sometimes some events that I've been part of organizing, and there are people who are very excited. They show up very excited. And then you ask them, can you clear out those chairs? And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute. I thought I was just going to mingle and just, cheer and be. No, we actually need things done. I mean, that's why
Right.
you're here. We need these bodies to go ahead and make these things happen, And, it's not just arts and crafts, it's like sometimes there's things that need to be done. And so I think that's an important thing to consider. I think a lot more young people should invest some time. It should maybe even be a requirement for them to donate some time into some charity for whatever reason. I think some places probably have those kinds of systems in place, but I believe the Mormon Church does something. Doesn't the Mormon Church do something like that, where they donate a lot of time to some charities and stuff? I don't know.
They do donate a lot of time.
Right.
A lot of the private high schools have a time requirement of volunteerism hours.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a matter of making sure that it's a good fit for for both sides. And sometimes people just get in over their heads, and you want to make sure that they're comfortable and happy, and because you want them to come back, because there's been some studies that showed that millennials will more often than not volunteer to try out the organization, to see what kind of organization it is, see about the people running it, and then if they're comfortable, then they'll give. Whereas baby boomers will give a little bit and see if they got acknowledged, and then they'll give a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a important thing to do. It is very fulfilling. I mean, you do it for a living, but for a volunteer sometimes to come in and actually see and meet the people that you're affecting. That's the other thing. Is sometimes people, at a distance, they donate to this vague thing. But when you volunteer, you tend to meet the people that you're actively helping, and meeting some of these people, actually hearing their stories, connecting with them in a deep way, really being touched. There's always some leave behind moment. I had a very deep leave behind moment because a friend of mine was going through this, and I had the privilege of being with him during the later times and having conversations with him for the times where he could talk. And thank goodness I convinced him to do a video for me while he still had his speech, where he could speak a little bit. But that was very difficult. But it was very it's a very memorable and I have fond memories, even though clearly he was suffering. But I have fond memories of because we did have a few laughs too during that time, and we were able to talk. But I think it's interesting when people actually do that. They volunteer and then they meet some of the people, and that's one of the key reasons it'll make you want to come back. When you meet these people, and especially the thing about ALS is the biggest thing is that there isn't a cure, and it's still this kind of this major mystery, right? I mean, as to how to deal with it, and it's just, I mean, what we're limited to what we know about it, right?
Right. And there's multiple genes that that are part of the process. So it's almost like there's different. I mean, we know that there's a few different forms. So there's a familial or one that's hereditary, and we've seen horrible instances of family members where a family of 5 and 4 of them will come down with ALS. So there's that, and then there's another set of genes that will start with like I said, that limb onset or that bulbar onset. So it's also we're looking for something, but we don't know what it looks like, and we don't know where it lives, but we're looking for it.
Right.
So everyone wants a cure. That's a given, but really right now the goal is a treatment to get us into a cure. We want people to be able to live their lives to their fullest as long as possible comfortably, and in the hopes that we will find a cure during that time.
In a sense, maybe slow it down with
Mm-hmm.
something, and so it gives them a little more time, because it seems like it's pretty quick, the effects.
Well, there's only 2 drugs right now on the market that have any impact on ALS, and neither one has depending, it changes from person to person, but neither one of them has a huge drastic. There's no turnaround. It does just slow the progression of the disease, but a lot of times that gives people time, whether it's time to spend time with their family, whether it's time to prepare. You think about it, there's a lot of people that didn't make plans, and especially a lot of people think, well, this is something that happens to people that are older and they've already been planning, but we've had people in their early 20s diagnosed with ALS. We've had people in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, all the way to their 80s. And people that are older tend to go more quickly than people that are younger.
Well, I think people that are maybe watching this might be thinking, what does this have to do with creativity? what is science?
Yeah, bring that around, Alex.
Well, no, it's because like I've always said, creativity is problem solving, and this is a big problem. And a lot of people are trying to find ways to solve this particular problem. And you've got different types of people looking for the problem. So you have the scientists, right? And we're not scientists, but the scientists have their side and what they're doing to try to solve the problem, understanding this. There's some different drugs, and I imagine there's some alternative medicines that haven't been approved yet that people sometimes are willing to take if they have this as well. I think that there's things that people are trying to find solutions, and that the approval process from the medical industry sometimes is incredibly frustrating for some people. And some people are willing, if they have it, they go, give me anything, I'll take anything. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever, but it's not approved, right? So it causes this kind of complexity. When my mom had cancer, she was struggling with trying experimental stuff, and it didn't really work out very well. The experimental stuff is what got her at the end before the cancer did. But that's the risk that people are willing to take and wanting to take sometimes on these kinds of things. So in terms of I think that people, the encouraging people to be creative and to be better problem solvers, this is part of that. I think it's the mindset, is that you can be a solution to a larger problem in a small way. And in acting as a solution to a large problem in a small way, it puts you in a mindset that can feed more things. If you can come up with a great way to help ALS through your volunteerism, and you have an idea that you can bring to the table, that actually encourages other people to notice and to donate, that is a step in the right direction. And I think that that's why it's relevant. I think that you're constantly trying to find new ways of doing this. You're always using your creative mind to try to find ways of new things to do, or trying something new, and if it works next year, doing it again and trying to maybe up the challenge a little bit, or consistently doing things like the walk. It's a consistent thing because it works, and it's fun, and it's great. It's a great environment, and it really lets a lot of people know about what's going on. But aside from that, it works really well because it's beautiful there, and it's a nice park, and there's people taking tons of pictures, and there's ALS stuff everywhere. So if they take a picture and they share it, other people go, "What's this? What do they got? What are they doing?" People that don't know, and then they look into it, and that helps spread the word a little bit too. So there's a lot of different things that people need to consider sometimes when they try to spread the word on these things. But I don't know.
I was going to say,
yeah.
COVID has forced us to be creative in a whole new way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't have event. I mean, that our walk in Las Vegas, last year had over 800 people in attendance. We were anticipating 1,000 people. We were actually moving to a bigger park to accommodate it. Right. We can't do that. So we've had to be very creative of how do we do this virtually? How do we get people engaged? How do we keep them engaged? And recognizing that people are hurting themselves. We have so many Nevadans that are that don't have a job. We have, so many Nevadans that are scared, that they're going to get sick, or that they're going to, their loved one's going to get sick. And so how do we accommodate for all of that and still get our message out there? And I think we've done a really good job of creating an online environment where people can share their experience and share their excitement about what they're doing, all while fundraising. And, we've had to do the same thing with our gala. Our gala last year had over 500 people. It's a dine around. So you basically come, and there's 12 different restaurants, and you go from table to table and you eat your way through the entire event. And it's amazing and delicious. And there's chefs from all over Las Vegas. And, last year, one of the biggest things was tomahawk steaks, and there were people fighting over the leftovers. So, how do we do that and make it so that people can still enjoy themselves and still have a taste of that food, but not all congregate together? And so we've created a concept where instead of a dine around, it's a dine in, and people will be able to pick up a box that will have all of the pieces that you need to assemble the bites of food. And you can do it for 2 people, you can do it for 10 people, and any number in between. And you'll pick up your box and you'll log on that night, and we'll have a video that teaches you how to make the signature cocktail for the evening. Everything will be in the box. And then we'll have videos that will teach you how to assemble the food that's in the box, and so that you can create your own food as art gala right in your own home. That took a lot of creativity to come up with that.
Right.
Versus, a lot of times, especially in the, the early part of the pandemic, when people had to suddenly shift to a virtual gala, they would just put their program on the internet and say, watch our program. Here's the videos about the work that we do. We're going to have some people talk about it. We're going to ask you for some money. And then we're going to hope that you spend money on our silent auction. Thanks so much. Have a good night. And we wanted to make it more interactive. And by doing it this way, so that people can actually still have that food piece, if they choose to get together with other people, if they have people in their circles that they're comfortable with, you can invite another couple to your house, or a couple of, 2 or 3 couples, and everyone could bring their own package, and you could have your own little gala right there in your living room.
So you have kind of made it a career to help people. It's kind of become your thing. You were always motivated. What did you like when you were a little girl? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be an attorney.
Yeah.
In my third, I found my little book from school that held on my report cards, and for 3rd grade, and it said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I misspelled, but tried to write the word lawyer.
Oh.
And that I just one, I like to research things. Two, I'm pretty good at arguing. So it just seemed like a good fit. And then after I left politics, I had some people that were encouraging me to go back to school, to go to law school. And my best friend, who is an attorney, talked me out of it. And she's like, we don't need any more attorneys. We're good. Like, you don't need to do that.
There are a lot. But I think that I think that's an interesting thing, how you never know kind of the direction you're going in, and where our skill sets will lead us. And it's kind of interesting. Sometimes when I talk to young people and they say that what they want to do, they're very sure, they're very specific of the thing that they want to be, and then I kind of say, well, let's deconstruct that, right? So we'll go, why do you want to be a nurse, right? Why is it you want to be a nurse? Well, my mom's a nurse. Yeah, but what is it you like about your mom being a nurse? And then they'll kind of go down the line, and eventually it turns into, well, I just want to help people, and I just want to be, I want to be somebody that helps people, and they just decided it was a nurse. So I think that it's kind of an interesting thing sometimes if we boil it down to what's motivating us to want the thing that we want. And then if that's the case, then there's a heck of a lot of ways to help people. So just, being open-minded to try to see and search. And I think that that a lot of times the voyage we take when we're young, we end up where we're going to be. I mean, I always want to be a cartoonist, and like a comic strip cartoonist, but that's a dying art form. It's kind of done. So it's out there. It's still happening, but it's difficult to kind of get into. And now I'm kind of doing this. But it is interesting that at the very beginning we always have this kind of a want to be a thing, and then eventually life kind of directs you and tells you where you're going. The hope is that the core thing that you were trying to fulfill is there. That's what at least I hope, right? Going forward. So aside from I guess people could go to the website and learn about ALS and the things that you're doing. Is there, and what are the event you're talking about, how can people learn more? Just go to the website and learn more about it?
So yeah, if you go to alsanb.org, you can get information on all of our events. So on September 26th is our Food is Art DIY Gala. And then in October is our golf tournament, which will be at Legacy Golf Course in Henderson. And then in November is our virtual Walk to Defeat ALS, and it's the 20th anniversary of the Walk to Defeat ALS. So it's going to be a pretty big party.
That's awesome. So I think that if there's nothing else you wanted to add, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But I want to, in the tradition of one of my favorite campaigns, I'm going to take my ice glass of water, and I'm going to do an ice glass challenge. Okay. And then
there you go.
But then after I do this, I'm going to have to go donate.
Well, donate. If you're going to have to donate to my walk team and join my walk team.
Okay. I'll go and I'll join the walk team. I'll do that for sure. Okay. So here we go. It is ice water. It's real ice water. Look at that. There's ice in there. Okay. I don't know, why are people doing this? Okay, here we go. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's cold. Oh, okay. All right, I officially did it. Okay, now it's starting again. Oh, look, I got ice.
You did it.
So now it's going to start again. We got to get it. This will be the first one, and it's going to be a
There you go. We're gonna kick it off all over again. It's the time of year. I mean, it's like 113 today. It was the perfect day to do that. You just should have been outside.
Right. Except I'm in my, it's like too much air conditioning going on in here. So I'm going to have to run outside and get dry. Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for everything you do. And I love you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. Thanks for inviting me. And, this is just a small snippet of some great conversations we've had. So yes, I'm honored to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So yeah, everybody subscribe and do whatever, the thing that everybody tells you to do is subscribe to the thing and help support the try and share some of these creative people I'm trying to talk to. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay. I'll talk to you later.